Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing from. I'm Laura Thompson with TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global reach. And we're here with the queen of the Martin Luther King Commission. That's what I call her. She's the queen of so many things in our community on all levels. And she was the first commission chair for the Martin Luther King Commission. And so, we would not even be here today if it had not been for Aaronetta Pierce stepping up to the plate and chairing the commission. So how you doing, Mrs. Pierce?
I'm doing well, and I'm just grateful that we're still here and that the commission is still strong and that those lovely people in our community are carrying forth what we tried to start.
Wow, well, you did more than try. It has become the largest march in the nation, or considered the largest march in the nation. And so, by you being the very first commission chair, how does that make you feel?
It reminds me of the powerful opportunity that I was given and the respect that I tried to give to the project in the very beginning. I knew it was important. I didn't think I could do it, but every day I learned that if you work as hard as you can, progress happens. And there were, I think, when Mayor Cisneros named the initiatives that he wanted to see the commission undertake, we ended up with 13 committees.
Wow.
And I attended all the committee meetings, and I felt that it was important that one person at least know what everybody was doing. And as it was, I was able to help them complete their task and bring things together and overlap them when they were necessary. So It was a great learning experience for me. I learned my community. I had taught school here with your mother.
Wow.
And I had a great commitment to San Antonio. And now it's been 63 years that I've lived here. And I've gotten to know the community really well. I feel a great commitment and a great respect for the people who have come before me. And we all have to use our time here to build on the opportunity for those coming behind us.
Wow. Well, you were and still are very influential, to not only the African American community, but the city of San Antonio at large. And I think that you were the ideal person to help bring people together, and you brought people together from all aspects of life to participate and lead the commission. And so you are to be commended for that.
I think that what I learned is that in order to make something happen, you have to do the work. And it's the work that gets the job done. And Henry knew that I would do the work.
Wow.
And every day we had returned from Germany. My husband was in private practice then. I had small children, teenage children, and I wasn't working. So I chose to use that time to do what I needed to do to lay the foundation to build the program.
Yeah, Mrs. Pierce is always poised and graceful, soft-spoken, but powerful and very influential. And I would just see her everywhere. And, I always admired you and the way you carried yourself and the work that you were able to create and develop and help other people to help them move forward in whatever project you were working on. And so what is your most memorable time doing serving on the commission?
There are just so many different ones. But one of the examples of working together and building the project was we were in a particular meeting of, I think it was transportation, and a name that people probably don't, some may remember, but one of the members of the committee was Blanquita Cullum.
Mm-hmm.
And Blanquita was at that time a member of the board of trustees of VIA.
Okay.
And so I was sitting in on the meeting, and we were just talking about getting the people to the march and, just fundamental kinds of activities. And finally, we were talking about the fact that the bus company played a major role historically in building the program and making Martin Luther King a household word, and the boycott in Montgomery, Alabama. And that Blanquita spoke up and said, I think we have one of those old buses that we could resurrect to have in the march. I said, we could even do better than that. I said, Rosa Parks is still alive.
Wow.
And we could bring her here. And so one thing led to another. And just out of that communication and listening and being present, we decided to bring Rosa Parks to San Antonio, and she did. And another name of great importance to this community is the Sutton family. And Lou Nell Sutton was our state representative at the time. A very revered woman in our community, had been a businesswoman, the wife of G.J. Sutton, and whose position she had taken in the State House. And we contacted Lunell, asked her to host Mrs. Parks, and to bring together some other senior citizens that we could get to ride on the bus.
Wow.
And so, one thing led to another, and we felt that the thing that you want to do is you want to include everybody who's in the playing field, so that you have the players there. First, it gives you a chance to thank those people who have played a role or are playing a role in building our community, and we get to thank them and get them involved in the project. And the more people that you involve, the bigger the interest is, and the bigger the project becomes. So that was why I went to all the committee meetings. I mean, we got ideas. I will never forget Reverend Wheeler. We were at the ecumenical committee meeting. This was that first year. And Reverend Wheeler was one of the leaders in the Baptist Ministers Union. And he was at this particular meeting, and Mrs. Smedler and so many others were participating in planning the community. I was really there, as a listener. I learned something that I will never, ever forget. People were saying, well, we need this on the program, and we need that on the program. And so, some of us who don't want it to go too long were saying, well, now we can't let the program be long. How long is this program going to be? And Reverend Wheeler spoke up and said, it will last until the benediction is said.
Wow.
And I never forgot that. Because he reminded us that sometimes you have to give a program its due. You have to do what needs to be done on the program. And it's over when we say it's over.
Wow.
When we've done what we need to do. And, just listening to our elders very often, we learn. And I think that I learned that we have to always remain teachable and keep learning, because we don't know everything, and our elders have much to teach us.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So what was it like? Well, I know what question I want to ask you. So you were the first Martin Luther King Commission chair.
Yes.
And so as you look back over the years after you served, how did you feel when you found out that a commission and a march that you were instrumental in, being on the fundamental or foundational ground? How did you feel when you found out that it was the largest march in the nation?
I thanked my community because it's San Antonio. You know, we love a good gathering. We stand up for what we believe in, and we will show up for what we believe in. And if you put it out there and give us something of value, we will participate. I think that one of the hardest things was that the Black community has for years been present, not always leading. And when we realized that we had an opportunity to be involved, to be center, to speak our piece, to be a part of it, to include our own community, and then to reach out and include the whole community. You know, we can't just make it by ourselves. We've got to talk to each other. But when we found that we had a role to play, then we took it upon ourselves to stay involved. And that's why I think it has maintained its prominence because we feel that it is something that we belong to, and we can show up and be a part of it, and we can invite our whole city to be a part of something that emanates and takes place on the east side of San Antonio, and therein lies our value, our importance.
Wow. So you know, I like to go out and take candid shots of you know, people during the march and that after program. And, you know, I notice a lot of kids and a lot of families, you know, people bring the parents bring their kids, you know, sometimes they're holding them, they're not even able to walk yet. So how important is it to continue to incorporate, you know, our families into this celebration?
I don't think there's anything I love more than seeing a family participate. We are saying, we're saying, first of all, I remember Chief McManus had his children walking in the march.
Wow.
And one of the things that we're saying is, first of all, it's safe. And then by having the whole family there, we're saying it's important. It's an important legacy that we want to extend to our entire community, to our entire family. And it's important for parents to say, we love our children. We care about our children. We want our children to be safe. We want our children to be respected. We want them to have a place in this city. It's their city too. Wow. And so when you see a family, you realize that it is a generational opportunity to speak to something that's very important.
Wow. And my final question, so a lot of times people participate in the march and they have a cause or a reason for marching. And so I think that the march gives individuals and organizations a platform to have a voice. So how do you feel about, you know, people incorporating, you know, some of their beliefs or needs, or like for economic advancement or, you know, racial equity? How do you feel about?
Laura, I'm so glad that you brought that up. I think it's critical. A march is a symbol, but if we have such a large march, we need to have an announcement of every year, even if we repeat an intention for several years. But we need to have a purpose for our marching. We need to announce to the community, whether it's for the protection of voting rights, whether it's for better treatment for the maternal Black mothers whose lives are at risk, whose numbers are too high. I mean, we need to talk about those initiatives. That's why Reverend Callis was so important to our community. he stayed in the face of city council, of the public. He told them what was the matter. He told them what the problems were. We cannot just have a picnic. We need to have a purpose, and we need to remind our communities what our purpose for coming together is a symbol of. And so I appreciate your asking that, because I feel very strongly, I tell every chairman, it's up to them, but I remind them that we need to be purposeful in our marching, because it is too important not to symbolize our purpose.
Wow. And I have one final question. I always heard growing up, and as I got older, that history repeats itself. And so during the civil rights movement, and when Martin Luther King was alive, we had a lot of issues that he worked to get resolved. And so it seems like history is repeating itself, and we're reliving it right now. So how do you feel about that?
We are, and we all need to find the courage within ourselves to address our initiatives. We need to be front and center in the voting lines, in the marching lines, in the listening and reading and purposeful ways that we see our community needs us. There's a wonderful saying by Maya Angelou, my sweet friend, and she said, history, with all its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived.
Wow.
But if lived with courage, it need not be lived again. We have got to find the courage to say no. We won't accept that. We don't accept that. We have got to learn to agree with each other, to come together and assert our common concerns. As long as we pull each other apart, we have no power, no strength, no courage, no growth. But if we can learn to come together, to assert our needs, to agree on what it is we're trying to fight for, then we have a chance to change things for our improvement. I think of Harry Belafonte, who died amidst all of this scorn, a reliving, as you have said, of many of the problems that we thought we had erased. And he gave his whole life, practically his career, to speak out in favor and support of our progress. And that's what I ache about. People like him who died, having to see that we were reliving history. We cannot do that to our elders. We have to find courage to speak up and do something. When you are gone, you want somebody to say, I did the best I could. Well, what is that? We need to find our best and do something positive so that our children coming along don't have the same pains we've had.
Wow. So you've heard it from the eloquent Aaronetta Pierce, our first Martin Luther King Commission chair. She's been an advocate and an activist before the commission, and she continues. It's been a lifelong journey for her to be a voice in rooms, where we're not present, and make things happen. And you don't even know that she was responsible for, bringing up the idea of making change. But she has been, and she still is. And so thank you so much for your service, your continued service, your service to the Martin Luther King Commission, and to the city of San Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you for having my voice.